When I told my family he hit me, my mother said, "Maybe you provoked him." My father said, "Marriage isn't easy." My brother called him a good provider. I packed one bag and left with no support, no safety net. 2 years later, they asked to visit. I sent them the same silence they gave me. The first time he hit me, I still made excuses for him. It wasn't a punch, not at first. It was a shove, sudden, sharp, hard enough that I stumbled into the kitchen counter. He said I was talking too much. Said I was trying to start a fight. Said he barely touched me. And maybe he didn't mean to. That's what I told myself. Maybe he was just stressed. Work had been rough. I had asked him twice about the same bill. Maybe I was being annoying. Maybe I had pushed too far. He apologized that night. Sort of said, "You know how I get." Said, "Don't poke at me when I'm on edge." Then he put on a movie like nothing happened. I didn't cry. I didn't leave. I cleaned up the shattered glass from the floor, a bowl I knocked over on the way down, and told myself we were just having a bad week. The next day, he brought home dinner, kissed the top of my head, said he was trying. I smiled and said thank you. No one noticed the bruise. I wore a sweater. Pulled my hair to the side. When my mother called, I answered with a cheerful voice. When she asked how marriage was, I said, "Good. Just busy." She said, "That's normal." I agreed. Back then, I was still trying to make it make sense. Still believing that good men had bad days. Still believing that if I stayed soft enough, patient enough, small enough, it wouldn't happen again. But it did, and again, and again. Until I stopped pretending it was a mistake. It crept in slowly like rot. A shove turned into a slap. A slap turned into a punch to the arm, the ribs, the back of my thigh where no one would see. He never aimed for my face. That was the line, apparently. He didn't yell. That's what made it harder to explain. He wasn't loud or explosive. He was controlled, precise, cold. He'd say I was too sensitive, that I needed to stop making everything about me, that if I just listened better, it wouldn't get that far, that it was my tone, my timing, my fault. I started apologizing before anything even happened, walking on glass, monitoring my words, my volume, my facial expressions. If I saw his mood start to shift, I'd retreat, change the subject, leave the room, didn't matter. One night I forgot to plug his phone in, just forgot. I was half asleep. He slammed the charger across the room, said I didn't respect his time, said I was selfish. I didn't flinch anymore. That was new. He broke a plate once, then told me to clean it up while he stepped outside to cool off. I did. Quietly, because it was easier than arguing. It always ended the same. A weak apology, an excuse, a long silence where I was supposed to feel guilty. Then a night of normal, sometimes even flowers, sometimes nothing at all. I started keeping track. Not to leave, I wasn't there yet, but to prove to myself I wasn't imagining it. He never said I'm sorry in full. Never once said, "I hit you." Just called it getting carried away. I stopped correcting him. I thought telling her would be a lifeline. It was an anchor. We were on the phone, Sunday afternoon. She was rambling about someone at church, about casserole recipes, about nothing at all. I wasn't even listening. My ribs still ached from 2 nights before. "I need to tell you something," I said, cutting her off. She went quiet. "Okay." I hesitated, then said it, simple, flat. "He hit me." Silence, then not shock, not worry, but a sigh. Tired, disappointed. "Maybe," she said slowly, "you provoked him." My mouth stayed open. Nothing came out. She continued, calm as ever. "You know how men are, they don't like being pushed. And you've always had a sharp mouth when you're frustrated." That was her response. Not "Are you safe?" Not "Do you need help?" Just "Maybe you provoked him." She didn't ask what happened. She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked, "Have you tried praying more about your role in all this?" I wanted to hang up. I didn't. I listened as she talked about how marriage is hard, how women today give up too quickly, how I needed to stop looking at things through a victim lens. "You married a man," she said, "not a saint." And I realized she wasn't shocked, she was prepared. She had been trained to expect this, to excuse it, and she expected me to do the same. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. But not from pain, from clarity. He said marriage isn't easy, as if that explained everything. I told my father a week later, not because I thought he'd fix it, just because part of me still wanted one person in my family to say, "That's not okay." He didn't. We were sitting in his truck. Windows rolled down, coffee in his hand. I told him flatly. He hits me. He stared out the windshield for a long time. Then he said, "You sure you're not just in a rough patch?" I didn't answer. He sipped his coffee. "Look, I'm not saying it's right, but men are under a lot of pressure, providing, leading, carrying everything." Still, I said nothing. "You can't expect it to be perfect," he went on. "Your mother and I fought plenty. You just find a way to hold the home together. That's your role." "That's your role?" He said it like it was obvious, like I'd forgotten the script, like getting hit was just one of the less pleasant parts of being married. "Divorce isn't always the answer," he added. "You have to think long-term, don't blow up your life over one problem." One problem? I almost laughed. But I didn't want to explain bruises to someone who thought pain only counted if it showed up on a police report. I realized then he wasn't trying to help me leave. He was trying to help me endure it better. So I nodded, got out of the truck, closed the door, and walked away from the second person who'd made it clear I was on my own. He said at least he provides. Some men don't. That was my brother's version of concern. I told him in the kitchen of his new condo. He had just poured 2 glasses of whiskey. I didn't touch mine. "I need to tell you something," I said. "He's been hitting me." My brother froze. For a second I thought he might actually be stunned. Then he shrugged. "Look," he said, "I'm not saying that's okay, but at least he's not one of these guys out here doing nothing." Guy shows up. Pays bills, keeps you off your feet. I stared at him. He took a sip like that was the end of the conversation, like contribution canceled out violence. "You've always been sensitive," he added, tense. "Maybe you need to stop poking the bear." "Poking the bear?" I asked. "So if he hits me, it's because I'm difficult." "I didn't say that." "You did not say it." He set his glass down. "What do you want me to do, huh?" "Go fight him. You married him. You picked him. You said he was a good man." "He was," I said, "until he wasn't." He raised his eyebrows like he didn't believe me, or worse, like he didn't care. "You know how many women out there would kill to have someone who doesn't cheat, doesn't run off, just comes home and pays his share." I looked at him, really looked, and I saw it the same wiring our parents had, the same script. He thought being provided for was the trade-off, that if the bills were paid, the bruises were negotiable. I left his place without finishing my drink. He didn't walk me out. I sat with that, with their excuses, their justifications, their silence. My mother telling me I probably provoked it. My father telling me marriage takes work. My brother telling me it wasn't that bad because at least the bills were paid. I played their words back at night, when the house was quiet and I was too sore to sleep on my left side. I sat at the kitchen table after he left for work, hands wrapped around a mug I didn't drink from, wondering what part of me still believed they might call. Ask if I was okay, say they were wrong. They never did. I tried once, just once, to bring it up again with my mother. Her response was tighter this time. Colder. "You need to be careful what you say about your husband." Words stick. "You don't want to damage his name." His name, that's what she was worried about. I looked around at my life, our house, his furniture, my silence. There was no backup plan, no emergency contact, no one on my side. Every time I reached out, they handed me a script. Stay quiet, stay loyal, stay married. I sat with that. Then I decided I was done sitting. I stayed a little longer, hoping someone would see, not him. I stopped expecting anything from him. I stopped believing his apologies, his soft mornings, his sudden tenderness after every outburst. That was the cycle. I knew it by heart. I stayed because some part of me still thought someone else might step in, that a friend might ask the right question, that a neighbor might notice, that one of my family members might call, just once, and hear something in my voice that made them stop pretending everything was fine. But no one asked. No one looked closely. Everyone liked the version of me that smiled, the one who posted polite photos, the one who said, "We're doing great," without choking on the words. So I waited. Waited through cold dinners, through slammed doors, through long nights where I stared at the ceiling and imagined what it would feel like to not be afraid. Waited for someone to say, "This isn't your fault." It never came. He got rougher. Not often, not enough to leave marks that couldn't be covered, but enough. And every time I thought if someone knew they'd do something, I was wrong. So I stopped waiting for rescue and started thinking about what I could carry on my own. Then I started packing. Quietly, no rush, One small bag, the kind you'd take for a weekend trip, just what I could carry without drawing attention. One pair of shoes, two shirts, my ID, a phone charger. The envelope of cash I'd been slipping into a book spine for months. I didn't pack keepsakes. Didn't take the framed photo from our anniversary. Didn't grab the necklace he bought after the first time he made me flinch. I left my wedding ring on the bathroom sink. It was late. He was asleep in the bedroom. I moved slow. Every sound felt louder than it was: the zipper, the creak of the closet, the door latching behind me. I didn't leave a note. He wouldn't have read it. He would have twisted it into something it wasn't. I didn't cry. I walked out into the night with no plan, just breath, just motion. The cold hit me like truth. I kept walking. No map, no destination. Just the simple, hard fact that anything was better than staying. I had no place lined up, no safety net, but I had silence. And finally, I had the choice to use it. No one called, not the next day. Not the day after that. Not once in the first week. Not my mother, who always said she could feel when something was wrong. Not my father, who claimed family was everything. Not my brother, who used to call me stubborn like it was an endearment. Nothing. No texts, no voicemails, no half-hearted "are you okay?" No angry messages demanding why I left. No whispered apologies. No offers of a place to stay. It was like I disappeared and they agreed not to mention it. Like silence was easier than admitting what they'd ignored. I checked my phone anyway. For days. Not out of hope, just out of habit. Every time it lit up and it wasn't one of them, the dull ache inside me got quieter. Less surprised. Less hurt. They'd chosen their comfort over my safety, over and over. So when I left, they left too. They just didn't say it out loud. And I finally understood. No one was coming. I slept on a couch that wasn't mine, a friend of a friend. No questions, no lectures, just a key and a clean pillow. The couch was lumpy. The throw blanket smelled like someone else's laundry detergent. But it was the safest I'd felt in months. I didn't unpack, didn't explain. I just said, "Thank you," and tried not to take up too much space. That first week, I barely spoke. Ate what I could. Showed up to work with the same face I always wore, composed, polite, fine. At night, I laid still and listened to the hum of someone else's refrigerator. The faint creak of footsteps in a hallway that wasn't mine. I stared at ceilings that didn't remember what he'd done. Some nights, I stayed in shelters, sat through intake questions, waited in lines, held my bag tight, told the truth in the smallest possible words. I didn't tell them about the silence from my family. That part felt heavier than anything I carried. The kindness came from strangers, from women who didn't ask why I stayed, just nodded. Passed the coffee, showed me where the towels were. It wasn't stability. It wasn't home, but it wasn't him. And for a while, that was enough. I got a job. Then two. The first was mornings, front desk at a small office, answering phones, pretending my voice didn't shake from exhaustion. The second was evenings, restocking shelves, folding clothes, smiling at customers who never looked me in the eye. I didn't complain. I didn't have time to. I rented a room from a woman who didn't ask questions. Paid in cash. Shared a bathroom. Ate ramen most nights. Saved what I could. My body ached all the time. My feet stayed swollen. I set alarms before bed just to make sure I didn't fall too deeply asleep and miss the next shift. But slowly, piece by piece, things started to stick. I got a prepaid phone, bought new underwear, replaced the broken zipper on my jacket, picked out a coffee mug from a thrift store, blue, chipped at the handle. Mine. Every dollar was a small win. Every week I made rent was a quiet victory no one clapped for but me. No one knew my story at either job. I liked it that way. I liked being anonymous. Just another woman trying to make it work. I didn't talk about the past. I was too busy building something new. I blocked every number. One by one, my mother's, my father's, my brother's. Even the cousins who never asked but might one day try to check in out of concern. I changed my email, locked down my socials, took my face off the internet where I could. I didn't want apologies, not 2 years late, not from people who knew and chose silence. I didn't want explanations. I'd already heard enough of those. I wanted peace, so I made it myself. The first night after I blocked them, I expected to feel panic, regret, something, but all I felt was quiet. Deep, still quiet, no alerts, no demands, no guilt disguised as love. Just me in my small room with clean sheets and a full stomach, and no voices in my head telling me I should have stayed. I breathed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't flinch at the sound of my own phone. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. No jolts awake at 2 a.m., no footsteps in the hallway. No dread curling in my chest at the sound of keys in a door. Just sleep, deep, dreamless. In the morning, I made coffee. Slowly, on my own time. No one barking questions. No one waiting to punish the way I stirred too loud. I stood at the stove barefoot. Let the sun hit my shoulders. Listened to nothing but the clink of a spoon in a mug. I started walking more, around the block, through thrift stores, past apartment buildings I used to think were out of reach. I made meals that didn't have to please anyone but me. I played music I hadn't heard in years. I painted my nails, I let them chip without apologizing for it. No one praised me, no one noticed. That made it real. Healing didn't come like a moment. It came like routine, like brushing my hair and not wincing. Like locking a door and knowing no one else had a key. It came like quiet, and I kept it close. 2 years passed. No birthday call, no holiday text, no just thinking of you message wrapped in guilt. Nothing. Not from my mother, who used to send Bible verses on Sundays. Not from my father, who always said family came first. Not from my brother, who said I was being dramatic when I told the truth. They weren't waiting to see if I was safe. They were waiting for me to forget, to move past it, to come back softened, maybe broken, maybe grateful for whatever scraps of love they decided I'd earned. But I didn't come back. And they didn't reach out. They left the silence where they thought love should have been, and I built a life inside it. Then my brother emailed. Subject line, hey, no greeting, no apology, just 2 paragraphs of vague concern. We've been worried. Haven't heard from you in a long time. Mom and Dad have been asking about you. We're thinking of coming to visit soon, maybe check in, catch up. Let us know what works, like nothing happened. Like he hadn't called the man who hit me a good provider. Like I just disappeared for no reason and they'd finally gotten curious. There was no mention of what I told them. No acknowledgement of what they said. No space for truth. Just this thin, casual attempt to pull me back into their world, where silence didn't count as harm, and pretending was more comfortable than admitting they failed me. They didn't want closure. They wanted access. I closed the email. Didn't respond. I didn't need more words. They already gave me their answer. They said they just wanted to talk. A second email came 3 days later. Longer, softer, we miss you. We didn't know it was that bad. If we had, we would have done something. You should have said more. You should have been clearer. They started rewriting it quickly, sloppily. Said they were shocked. Said they never meant to dismiss me. Said maybe they handled it wrong, but they were doing their best with what they knew. Let's not live in the past, my mother wrote. Let's heal, my father added. Let's not let one hard season break the family, my brother finished. As if I was the one who broke it. As if my silence now was somehow more damaging than theirs when I needed them most. They wanted forgiveness without responsibility. A reunion without reckoning. They wanted to talk now that I was whole again. Now that I didn't need saving. Too late, I didn't respond. I read the message, all of it. Every softened sentence, every carefully vague phrase meant to sound like love without ever touching truth. Then I closed it. No reply, no anger, just stillness. Not because I was trying to make a point, not because I wanted to punish them, but because silence was the only honest language left between us. They wanted me to open the door so they could stand just inside it and pretend it never happened. They wanted to erase their part in it, their denial, their deflection, their absence. But I remembered every word. Maybe you provoked him. Marriage isn't easy. At least he provides. Those weren't slips. They were decisions, so I made mine. I chose no. They tried again. A different email. Then a call from a blocked number I didn't answer, a voicemail. My mother's voice, tight and sweet, like she was auditioning for forgiveness. We just want to know you're okay. As if that question hadn't expired 2 years ago. Then a letter, handwritten from my father, 4 pages. He used words like misunderstanding, time heals, and family ties. He said they were proud of how strong I'd been, said they never stopped loving me, said I'd always have a place at their table. But not once did he say, we were wrong. Not once did he say, we should have protected you. He said, come back, not we failed you. I folded the letter neatly, placed it in a drawer I don't open often, not out of sentiment, out of documentation. Let them try. Let them reach. Let them search for the version of me who still needed their approval. She's gone, and I'm not forwarding her mail. I remembered their silence. Not just the things they said, but the things they didn't. When I told them he hit me, they didn't ask if I was scared. Didn't ask if I had somewhere to go. Didn't ask if I needed help packing or money or just a place to breathe. They asked if I provoked him. Asked if I'd prayed about it. Asked if I was sure I wanted to give up so easily. I remembered sitting on that couch that wasn't mine, wondering if anyone would call. They didn't. I remembered sleeping in shelters while they set the dinner table without me. Now they say they're worried. Now they say they just want to talk. Now they want me to make the first move again, but I already did. When I asked for help, they chose comfort over courage. Now I choose memory over fantasy. I remember who stayed quiet, and I act accordingly. I gave them the same silence. No email, no letter. No answer to the voicemail they left 3 weeks later, asking one more time to meet just for coffee. They didn't get a boundary discussion. They didn't get a long message explaining what they did wrong. They didn't get closure. They got what I got, nothing, because silence is an answer. And sometimes it's the only one that fits. I didn't block them again. I didn't need to. They know. They feel it now, the stillness they built and handed to me like a gift. I just wrapped it and returned it. These days, my life is small, whole, quiet, my space is clean, my phone doesn't ring unless I want it to. My home is mine. My peace is mine, my voice is mine. They say family forgives. I say family doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. I didn't slam the door, I just never opened it again. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.